Good good morning and good afternoon, good evening, uh, colleagues, educators, parents, students around the globe. It's my pleasure to welcome you uh, to participate and watch our second webinar in 2026 titled Child Protection and Education in the Affected Regions. While you guys are waiting, I have like 2 to 3 questions for Kate. Maybe some you already addressed, and but I would like to have your response, if you can, to more focused answer. First of all, is like more like a general question about your your program, wonderful program and experience in Haiti for education, for educators, for early childhood development. How this can be, if possible, translated or travel, let's say, travel to another context in other regions. Do you think what is like best takeaway you think, okay, you guys should do this, we learn in Haiti experience, you should do this. So this is the first question. And second question follows this is like, what will be or what are the global initiative you guys have done moving from Haiti to other regions in other like India or like Africa, if you can, you want to share, feel free. And the third question is digital learning and infrastructure. I know it's like sometimes it might be luxurious to talk about this in the context in Haiti, but indeed we know artificial intelligence, remote learning, all these tools are like presented in front of us these days. And you guys, have you guys tried any of this? Try to solve your problem there. If there is, please share of your cases. That's my question so far. And yeah, please, Kate. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, in terms of transferability or portability of this approach, again, I think that, well, if you want to base this on Catholic social teaching, again, we share this. We're political scientists. That's our background, Xiaojin. And so I think about the organization and hierarchy of the Catholic Church. It is, in fact, I'm sure it can be very frustrating sometimes, but it can be extremely helpful in a situation like this, where there is a structure that exists and, for lack of a better word, a power dynamic, where if a bishop promotes a program and encourages priests who are in charge of schools to also promote that program, that immediately solves a lot of issue of scalability, right? If you're in a diocese anywhere in the world and there is a significant presence of Catholic schools, that is like a systems activation, like a lever that you can pull. So I would say that for if in many countries, like in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in other places, I mean, basically the world, right? Because the Catholic Church exists in some way, shape, reform across the world to varying degrees and has varying levels. But I think that it is a system that can be activated globally. And frankly, that's one of the things we believe, or we know, that the Catholic Church is in places where the Catholic Church exists and provides education, and many places where the most vulnerable children in the world and their families live. So that is an entree into that. But there are other systems, there are other religious systems or tribal systems, or there are systems that exist, but people figure out how to live their lives and make things work. I mean, we know this. Where states do not function well and are not providing the public goods that we would expect for a state to provide, different actors come in and provide those public goods. In Haiti, that happens to be that the Catholic Church provides a large amount of the public good of education. But I'm sure in many countries where folks, the educators that you work with there is another system that could be activated. Again, whether that's religious or not, it could be a different system. So I think that is the key to transferring this methodology or approach, is to saying, if I think about a vulnerable child, if you start from the perspective of the child and you say, what is impacting the daily life of this very vulnerable child? What are the actors and the system actors that actually touch this child's life? And then kind of go out from there and figure out how you can engage those actors that are touching that child's life. So that's how I would say that it could be put forward. To your second question about where we operate. So Notre Dame is a Holy Cross university. It's by the order, the Holy Cross order. And I'm not sure, maybe folks are familiar or not, there's many orders in the Catholic Church. There's Jesuits, there's Franciscans, there's Augustinians, all of those. Notre Dame happens to be run by the Holy Cross order, which is a smaller order globally, but very focused on education. So, in fact, one of our approaches for this work is in East Africa. Holy Cross has a very strong presence in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. So we are actually working closely with the provincial leadership there to say, how can we work? How can we bring this system and work on the L3, the homeschool and church system within those parishes in East Africa? That's just getting started. Holy Cross also has a very strong presence in Bangladesh. So we are also talking with them about what are ways that we can work with the system there as well. So I think from our perspective, other places we work in the world, we are very open to working in any Catholic parishes, but probably have, as our first move, have a particular interest in working where Holy Cross is there, sort of as a proof point. A colleague of mine, we were discussing this approach, the L3 approach, and she had a really good phrasing that it was just a couple weeks ago, and I thought it's really stuck in my head. But she said, the Catholic Church has the mandate to care for families and vulnerable children globally. Notre Dame has the method, so to speak, if you were to think about it, this homeschool church really approach to it. And we're trying to build a bridge between those two things. So we've really, again, dug in deep and had a proof point in Haiti of how this has worked. And we are hoping to bring that to Holy Cross parishes and to other parishes globally. We're in the beginning stages of collaborating in that way. Finally, the issue of technology. I cannot tell you over the past 15 years how many times we have tried and failed to use technology in education in Haiti. Even if we went, had a project in a better resource school in Port-au-Prince, where we thought we would have internet and electricity on a regular basis, we did not have internet or electricity on a regular basis. Haiti is a very tricky country for the internet because it's very mountainous. So it actually makes it incredibly tricky to get high quality internet service. And frankly, capitalism is what capitalism is. If there's not a base to invest, right? Like it's hard to get the digital. Haiti just does not have the digital infrastructure and availability of internet in the ways that we would need it to have to work. So what we've had to do, and again, I remember I was working with someone who had done digital projects and using tablets and digital learning in the US, and they said, "Oh, it's so easy. You have to plug in the tablets overnight." And I was saying, there's no power at this school, or there's not even power during the day. No one's going to run a generator overnight to do those tablets, right? Like that's just not going to happen because they don't have electricity. So one way that we have tried to address this digital divide, and I didn't talk about it that much, but we do have pilot community learning centers in different parishes, or there's actually shipping containers that have been retrofitted, have solar panels on the top, and have a Raspberry Pi server. So kind of like an intranet server that is existing. So those are that has all kinds of data that's already downloaded, right? So it's not using the internet. As long as the electricity is working, you can get on that local intranet server to be able to download and access materials. We've had some success with those. We still have issues with electricity, with like dust, like things getting too hot. I mean, they're working, but we've been troubleshooting. So I would say that we are aware of that issue and how powerful digital tools can be to provide education. One other thing I would point out is that there is still a gap, in particular in Haiti, in quality materials in students' mother tongue at that age group that we would be trying to maybe in like the early grades. There's just like a lack of certain curricular resources, and as you might know, in upper grades we can use French for some of those curricular resources, but particularly in the younger grades, when children are learning to read and write and Haitian Creole and are transitioning to French, there's sort of a gap in availability of high quality curriculum at that age group. So that's a very long answer to that question. Just to say that we are aware of it, we have thought about it, and we have been troubleshooting for quite a while to try to figure out, and we would love ideas or experiences from others, maybe in similar contexts where internet access and electricity are difficult, and where maybe the curriculum materials don't exist. We would love experiences from others to learn.
Thank you. Yeah, with now I don't know if you tried like solar, wind farms, all this kind of alternative ways to provide like electricity, but we will be trying for our programs in Africa, hopefully, and hopefully some of this latest like offline low bandwidth consume less internet, consume less power options could work for our for the programs, this kind of remote learning programs. Yes. So thank you very much, Katie, for your response. And Evelyn, are you ready? Okay, probably we'll have to wait a little bit. And Chen, you can ask questions. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Chai. And thank you so much, Kate. That was a very inspiring talk. And actually, it struck me so much because when you were talking about the vulnerable kids, I was thinking about vulnerable in knowledge, but no, they're vulnerable like in spirituality and in food. Like they need what they needed was not like a teacher that was skillful at teaching knowledge, but a teacher that could actually give them the ability to can reconcile, the inner conflicts, to provide them with food. And especially when those teachers, they're vulnerable themselves and their parents, that they don't have food themselves. So that struck me very much, and that I feel like that's really meaningful. This is really what it means to shape them in a whole child, because what we do in China is completely different. What we do is to try to force more skills and knowledge to the kids, to make them more like biased in some way, and they're not developed wholly. So this is really meaningful. I do have like two questions here, though. My first question is that since you mentioned that the legalese is the church teaching, and you have so many priests there who are so helping with the situation, because you have this radios and the priest can actually help with the parenting as well. But I feel like, is there some kind of like STEM education in like Haiti, in a way that the religious system, is it compatible with the science teaching? I mean, are the kids there allowed to learn mathematics, physics, and chemistry, and help them climb up the academic tree somehow? Because what we have here is what I heard here is the pre-K or 12 till grade what? I think it's grade 9, something like that, or grade 7. But if they are receiving this kind of education that the church provides, does it mean that they can also get the same opportunity to develop scientifically as well, and maybe climb up their academic tree and career tree one day? That is the church allowing them to learn, like modern knowledge in a way that other people in like maybe in China we do? And that's my first question. And my second question would be is there like a fair exam system built to allow kids to like they receive the kind of education they get, and then they can be better prepared to get into the society? Because as you have mentioned, a lot of those kids are learning the social emotional and like learning, yeah, the ESL learning, and this is very important for them to get away with the trauma. But is there like the same system built in their system? I guess not, because most of them are like private schools. But if there would be one, like I feel like the kids can feel more motivated to learn, and they could see clearly where they're going. Right now, like with all this like teaching provided in Haiti, can the students, can the young learners actually see where they're going with their study? Is there like a possible way for them to see that they're working towards some goal? And also, like, will the rich, be less vulnerable in this country and have more opportunities to like move abroad, to learn English, to go to a better world where the vulnerable end up being vulnerable, because there is not like a complete system for education and certification like that. Yeah, those are my two questions.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
To the first question. So the first question was whether or not the church allows the teaching of science and aligns with all those things. That would be an emphatic yes, they do, and there is no conflict there, in the sense that really the approach of our program, and that has been amazingly received by local leadership within the Catholic Church in Haiti, is that there is no separation between what science tells us and what our faith teaches us, in terms of like the revealed world, like what we learn through science is not in conflict. In fact, it aligns. I think, let me give a better practical example of this. When we first went to do the presentation, we have a presentation that we do. We worked really closely with the Harvard Center for the Developing Child to adapt their, I don't know if you're familiar, but they have these really great animated videos or animations that show how brain development happens in young children, how there's synapses are connected, how pruning happens, like how stimulating a young child's brain will actually help their brain to, develop and grow. So we worked very closely to adapt that into Haitian Creole, do videos on that. We worked with them. When we showed that video for the first time to like a group of priests, I always have this joke that when I go to Haiti and I'm doing a big presentation for priests, they are very often like they're very busy. They're doing so much. Like they're so busy. It's like almost hard to get their attention sometimes. And you could have heard a pin drop in the room when we did this video. And afterwards they said, "Show that again." So we did it again, and they said, "Why didn't anybody tell us this? We didn't know, and we can't wait to tell everybody," right? Like, well, no one taught me. Again, I didn't know about, early childhood brain development until I dug into the science of it because of the position that I'm in and things. So that's just one example of how they said, well, this aligns with how God thinks. This aligns with what your role is supposed to be as a parent. Like, now we can show parents, hey, this is what God has called you to do in terms of caring for your children, and the home is the first school, and we can show you what you're actually doing. So I guess I'm not articulating this very well, but there's very much seen as an alignment between the science and faith. There is no conflict at all between that, and there would be, I think, a deep desire, what we have seen, and we work primarily, to another point that you raised, we work primarily in the early grades. That has been, we work what kind of like 0 to age 8 has been the primary age group that we have worked with. So you're dealing with more basic science concepts, right? Basic math, basic science, those types of things. But I would say that there's no conflict there whatsoever in terms of like scientific discovery and of the church in terms of learning. You asked another question about how students would advance within the system. So there are different grade markers. There's a 6th grade exam, a 9th grade exam, a 12th grade exam, and a 13th grade exam, a national exam. So whether you go to a public school or a private school in Haiti, you would take the same exam. So there is a system for advancement. So that's a short answer to that question.
Thank you so much, Kate. That will clear my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tao, for the questions. I think Princess Evelyn, she had a question comment while she's fixing her internet. I think she asked about Kate system they are introducing in East Africa in working with churches. Do you mind to respond to this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I had more to say about it because we're in the beginning stages. I might just acknowledge like I don't know if it's been an elephant in the room, maybe not as much for the work that you're doing. We have experienced a bit of a sea change with the closure of USAID. In fact, USAID was very supportive of the work that we were doing. They had been supporting us. We were able to bring in leveraged funding. So USAID would fund, and we had private foundations that would also fund our work. And it was a very happy marriage of public and private funding to expand the work that we were doing in Haiti. Similarly, we had started to think about what are some more scalable ways that we could put forward some of this work. And then the applications we were working on with USAID, obviously, or approaching USAID was not possible. We did apply with the province of East Africa, the Holy Cross province in East Africa, to do this L3 work, particularly in refugee camps in Uganda and Kenya, that Holy Cross, like parishes with a high refugee population, I should say, not really refugee camps, but parishes that Holy Cross runs that serve a very high refugee population, both in Uganda and in Kenya. And we applied through Global Grand Challenges Canada. So I believe that's what it was. And we put together what I thought was a very robust proposal, but we did not move forward. We were not selected for the final round of funding. So I think for us, part of this is figuring out how do we, it doesn't require an enormous amount of funding, but we do need some funding and able to move forward with the training, with the materials, with those things. So that's really, I think our limit in terms of expanding have been just trying to find the right, whether that's a different public donor, or finding the right private foundations. We have some long-term foundations that have supported our work in Haiti, that have seen the results and have been happy to reinvest in Haiti. We are now trying to figure out how do we take the work that's been shown, we think, in Haiti, demonstrated to work very well. How do we translate that or transmit that so that funders are interested in that in East Africa?
I think her internet still like not stable.
Presentation is everything. I've really learned so much.
Thank you so
Hello?
much.
Can you
Thank
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Sorry, my network is definitely going to be off and on, but let's be patient with each other. So yeah, Kate, I had a couple of things that I wanted to ask. Being that Haiti and East Africa is pretty much the same, we have a lot of climate issues which are the same, and maybe East Africa is a little bit worse because we have been mixed up with a lot of refugee camps. As you know, there's a war that has been ongoing for centuries from DRC and DRC Congo, and most of these young people are now seeking for refuge in Uganda. Most of them are coming from southern Sudan, and Sudan also running down to Kenya, Uganda, as refugees. So these refugees camps are overly populated. And that's where our biggest problem when it comes to empowering these kids and helping them or supporting them with systems that are workable is becoming a very big challenge for everybody. This be organizations themselves, and we're talking about long-term or the biggest organizations we know globally, to national programs, to even individuals like me and you who are coming up with small, enterprises or non-governmental organizations to help these groups. It's a very big challenge. First, before anything in East Africa, I think our biggest challenge is just not about the education, but it's about the hunger. Most of these kids cannot tolerate even 30 minutes in the classroom or concentrate on empty stomachs. UNICEF has done whatever it can to provide food for so many of these refugee camps and maybe the most messed up areas, but UNICEF cannot do it all alone. We're talking of over 550,000 children in every refugee camp, where on a daily they're receiving meals just to help them keep in a classroom. This is under UNICEF. So if there is kind of a system that we can put together, or maybe brainstorm on how best we can work out a way to have these kids fed before they attend that classroom, I think to me would be a plus first before anything. Second, another challenge we're also noticing in East Africa, as you mentioned, as I said, Haiti and East Africa is pretty much the same, is the network issues. You can see right now I'm in a remote area, not very far from the capital city, but the network is off and on. So you have to be in a particular area where you don't have to move or anything for you to have that access. So I don't know if there is a way we can work with the internet companies, and we see how we can modify ways to have the mobile network shifted and put into areas where the education is happening, or most of the schools that are being run, that maybe is affordable, one, because they know funding is another very biggest issue or challenge that we have. At the same time, maybe we form some kind of a private partnership with them. Maybe that somehow can help, because internet is needed. If we keep using the excuse of we're in areas that we cannot have proper internet, then these groups of kids are going to be left out. The world right now is moving into technology, and very fast. So for how long will these kids keep away from that? Because they have no access to the network. So I don't know if there is a way we can work out something between me, you, and all the other members that are into education across borders. We can see how we can work out a kind of like a private partnership with all these networking companies, and we work out a solution to this. Third, this is another biggest challenge, which is literally everywhere, even in the biggest cities. I live in Nairobi myself. I'm based in Nairobi, even though I'm a Ugandan and I work a lot in Uganda. We have realized that even these biggest cities, they call them blackouts or something like that for electricity. Every now and then, if you're not in an area or a residential area where they have worked out a way to run instant generators, you will be out of power every now and then, and there's no warning on it or anything. So I can understand how challenging this can be for schools to have access to internet or online classes where there's no access to power. So this also brings us another task, that how do we work around this to see how we can maybe work hand in hand with the solar companies. There are so very many companies that are producing solar, and this also, solar doesn't just have to produce power for the internet, but there's also a very big challenge with water, clean water. So all these are the issues or the challenges we find in education when it comes to East Africa. As I mentioned, Haiti is not any different. If kids are in big numbers, 100 plus in one area, and they have no access to clean water, they have no food, at least one meal a day, they don't have power or internet, definitely this is a whole other generation that we are raising or training that won't fit in the 24th century that we're running with, or today's technology that is running the entire world. They'll completely be left out. So the most basic of the basics that are required to me mostly would be food, water. Then we can work around solar, which I believe there are billions of companies that will be more than willing if we join forces and see maybe how to work out something that is doable within all these areas. That is a system that is implemented in Haiti. It has proved to work. Then it can be copied and pasted all across the entire continent. As now you're already opening up branches in East Africa, it makes so much sense. It's a matter of showing what has been working for you in Haiti, and we copy and paste it here. And maybe the same companies that you have done a partnership with to produce all these things can also help a lot here. So boreholes are a thing here. I don't know about Haiti, but boreholes here are a thing where they drill water from the ground. So anywhere you are, you can have access to clean water. But how are you going to pump that water up to the source or the foundation? From the foundation, the issue is always power, as you mentioned at the beginning. So nowadays, there's so many pumps, underground pumps, water pumps, that are solar powered. So this is where the need of partnerships with solar companies comes in. Critically, we need to think around those areas before we even put programs that can fit in right. Although I'm really impressed with the amount of work you have done, the homework that you've given us. I have to do a lot of research according to what you have presented and learn a little more. Something I like the most about is early childhood brain development. It is something that very many cultures have done for centuries, but I don't know why in this day and era we are ignoring it. Different ethnic groups have got different practices that have been running for centuries on how they read the kids of whatever particular ages and how their brains develop so that they can work with them accordingly. But we have completely ignored that in this day and era. But I really love what you've just mentioned, and I would love to learn more about what you're presenting here in East Africa, as I mentioned in the text. We see how we can incorporate Catholic churches. Catholic churches have a lot of funding, a lot. Second, the thing I have really appreciated about them, even in my last webinar meeting that we had here, I presented something about how well organized the Catholic churches are. And I really hope and wish that other religions can be that organized. Everywhere there's a Catholic church, there's definitely a hospital, there's a school, and a school, we're talking from primary, high school. They have got even what would be compared to a university, where these guys, you know, do like a training. It's the right word for it. It's pretty much after high school training where you go to get skills, like a technical school. Every Catholic church has this, and not one, not two. You find one Catholic church with over thousands of members is running about 5 different schools under that same church. So working with them will really help. They have got the power of numbers, they are very well organized, they have got the funds, and they've got the land. So if there's anything to be developed with them, I really wish there is some kind of clear partnership that can be put together between whatever team you're with that you bring to East Africa to work with these Catholic churches. I think they would push this farther and deeper to the remote areas outside the cities where the big churches are running. I really love that, and I would love to follow up more about that once you're in East Africa. Please do not hesitate to reach out, we say.
Princess, thank you so much. I would love to follow up even before, because I could learn from you and use some advice on approaching and thinking about this strategically, because our main entree is within the Congregation of Holy Cross, but there may be other partners as well within the Catholic Church that we should be thinking about. Just one very quick question. Is Digicel a provider of internet services in East Africa? Have you heard of Digicel? It's an Irish company. They may use a different name, but I'm thinking.
Where are they based exactly?
Well, it's an Irish company, and I know they provide internet service in Haiti, but I believe they provided in other low and middle income countries around the world. So maybe we can talk more. This is like an offline conversation to find out, are there companies that are overlapping, or can we use the leverage ourselves and the Catholic Church to pressure, greater private investment at this moment in which some countries' public donors are divesting in some ways. Maybe this is a chance for, private companies to increase their, not just foundations, but actual private companies that provide those crucial services to increase their investment.
That's actually part of their social responsibilities. As big companies in areas, they're supposed to somehow help those communities, but they they take advantage that nobody really knows about this, or makes efforts to reach out to them. So through the Catholic churches, being that they are that respected, if there's a way we can have a partnership with the Catholic churches and develop this kind of program, definitely these private companies, from solar to internet companies, they would definitely come on board. I believe that.
Thank you very much, Princess Evelyn Bright, for your
Yes, Kate, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your contribution. And you both responded to Katie's presentation and also presented the real-world challenges in East Africa to advance education and early childhood development in the region. Yeah, we do I think we all have consensus that infrastructure, either digital, power, water, and food these are basic needs need to be taken into consideration while we are developing education program in those affected areas. In fact, our organization, Educators Without Borders International, actually always go hand in hand with other charities, relief organizations, while we're doing education with Red Cross, Red Crescent, and other national relief charity organizations like UAE ones. And in addition, in terms of technology challenges or the infrastructure challenges, I also, being a Chinese, ethnic Chinese, I would like to bring your attention to this. Many of these challenges can now have low cost solutions in terms of solar or hydro or wind power, and there's a lot of innovation and cost cutting technology nowadays emerging from China and going beyond the world, which I think in the future we can involve those companies in where they have programming in East Africa or other regions, for them to either contribute their technology or their solutions, or for them to take on their social responsibilities to help the schools or the institutions to build those systems to support infrastructure, and so that we can develop education systems. So this is just something I think we need another meeting in the future, probably, with Kate is a wonderful system, and with Princess Evelyn Bright to present the real world and underground challenges, and with me and our educators bring you what resources and capacity we can bring to solve those problems, and maybe it could be a good partnership or good agreement, and a good brainstorm session to be held in the future. So with this, I want to give a last word to Kate and Princess Evelyn to conclude this webinar. If you have final words to say to our audience, please go ahead. Yeah.
I'll just say that it was lovely to have this discussion. I'm excited to connect with you, Princess, in the future. And if others, you can easily find me on the internet, and please feel free to reach out if you have questions or would like to share work that you're doing. I'm just thanks for inviting me to be part of this conversation.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks for your contribution. And the Princess?
It was a pleasure really learning a thing or two from you, Kate, and I'm looking forward for us to keep in touch. I believe that this is a very good purpose for all of us to get together. It's an initiative that requires different minds and everybody's efforts to see that we can change our communities. Doctor, we can't thank you enough for this opportunity, and I really look forward that we can have a second webinar so that we can maybe continue from here. And I appreciate very much what you've just said, that coming from a Chinese background, there's so much that you can maybe tap into and help us to join hands, and we see how we can find solutions to all these minor issues, mostly with solar issues and all that. Thank you so much. I look forward to the next meeting. And I'm sorry I didn't do my presentation this time because I'm really in a remote area. I was worried that everything might go off. I'm happy that I've even managed to come this far.
Thank you. Thank you for trying to be with us to contribute to this webinar. Thank you very much, dear audience. Our webinar is successfully concluded. See you next time. Bye.